Mr. Holmes, did you just want me to just try to do the introductions first, or
I'm sorry, what would you say?
you want me to do the introductions?
Okay, not just yet. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monet Stewart. I'm one of the facilitators for tonight. I graduated from Chippewa Valley High School in 2019, and I am now a current sophomore at Spelman College. That's my dog, sorry. But I'm now a current sophomore at Spelman College, and just wanted to introduce myself.
Hi, my name is Desiree, and I graduated from Chippewa too. And I attend Eastern Michigan University. It's my first year, so I'm really excited to go stay on campus. And I'm excited to see you all guys on this panel today. So guys, ready to get started?
First panelist that we have is Mrs. Sierra Holmes. Did you just want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sierra Holmes. I am a kindergarten teacher, and I'm just happy to be here with all of these powerful women.
And then the next panelist we have is Antoinette Wallace. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here as well. My name is Antoinette Wallace. I am a real estate broker and a small business owner in Macomb County, as well as the newly appointed Macomb County Commissioner for District 9.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Mrs. Tanel Hills.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here as well. My name is Tanel Hills, and I am the co-founder of a nonprofit in Grand Rapids called Endless Opportunities. And I also am a veteran. I served in the Army National Guard for 12 years.
The next panelist we have is Ariana Bellew. Did I get it right?
Hi, my name is Ariana, and I'm just one of the girls who are part of AMA, which were the leaders of the June 6th Hall Road protest.
Monet, we can't hear you.
You will, okay.
Next up we have Miss Angel Santana.
Okay. Hi, my name is Angel Santana. I'm currently a student at Chippewa Valley High School, and I'm also one of the leaders of the Hall Road protest, and I'm part of AMA.
Okay. And then we have our next panelist. I'm sorry. I think I got have noise in my background?
It's like,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, I think it's Miss Monique Carlin.
Greetings, everyone. As stated, I am Mrs. Monique Harlan. I am currently a community relations specialist with a financial institution that is headquartered in Macomb County. I'm a proud HBCU graduate and happy to be here with you.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm still trying to get the noise out of my background. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Did we get all of the panelists? Miss Lynette, did you want to introduce yourself? Or I think she just joined. Sorry.
Okay, and then we do have our panelist, Lynette Holmes. I don't know if she did want to introduce herself, but since she just joined.
Hi there. Although
Hi.
I'm just more and in observation capacity versus being on the panel. Hello, everyone. This is, I just want to, I want to take the opportunity to thank you, young ladies, for helping to participate in our MLK holiday celebration. I feel very honored to have you guys as a part of this panel. And again, just want to thank you for participating with us, and welcome.
Righty, so we are going to start off the discussion. I'm just going to be reading off the questions, and whoever feels moved to answer the question can just go ahead. I won't call on like any specific people or anything like that. So the first question is, Vice President Kamala Harris has made history by becoming the first woman vice president in office. Give your perspective on the historic occurrence, good or bad, and did it motivate you in any way, shape, or form? If so, how?
Monet, I'd like to speak to that. It was historic on several fronts. Historic in the sense that she is the first graduate of an HBCU to reach that level in government. Although she graduated from the other HU, I'm a Hampton University graduate, still filled with pride that she brought HBCUs to the prominence of the, I want to say, well, the majority society. Hampton and Howard and Spelman, Morehouse are considered Black Ivies. And in our communities, that's well known, the cream of the crop kind of a place. Not so well known broadly. Some people outside of our communities know that, but the last year or so, more people have taken a closer look at our institutions. And so it was historic on that front. Historic in that she is a woman of color, an African-American woman. Although she has South Asian roots, she identifies as a Black woman. And again, historic for the South Asian community as well as the African-American community. And she's Jamaican. So again, another history-making thing. And she is a member of my organization as well. So that was historic. There have been women that are part of Alpha Kappa Alpha that have served various presidents and held various offices, but she's the first to have risen at this height. And her election showed the unity that Black Greek letter organizations had. One of my closest friends from undergraduate belongs to another organization. But as we were preparing for election day, she had on her pearls and her chucks as well, showing unity. We saw throughout the Divine Nine, people coming together with their time and their resources to ensure that this happened. We always try to work on voter registration and education, but there was a tremendous push during this past election as a result of Kamala Harris being on the ticket and ultimately being successfully voted as the vice president.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just to follow up with that question overall, like in general, how has Kamala Harris being elected as vice president changed your perspective of women overall in leadership?
It definitely changed my perspective because it like when I saw her on that stage and like giving her commemoration speech and everything, it like made me realize that I also have a chance at just like doing bigger things. And it definitely like it makes you like realize like as Black women we don't really get a lot of we don't really see that future because we don't get a lot of examples of it. So I think it's really cool and it's definitely inspiring, and it opened my eyes to a lot of bigger opportunities for myself. And I know personally, like always, like from a younger age, I would like degrade myself because I felt like I couldn't have as much as a chance because I knew I was Black. And that definitely affects your self-esteem because I would never see like a Black woman in office or just her being in that position generally. So it definitely made me feel a lot safer to be in America, for one thing, because you know that there's somebody that has your, your same kind of traits that is up there, and that might actually understand what we as Black women go through. So it's definitely it definitely really changed my perspective of just like the future in general, and how I can do bigger and better things as well.
I would like to add that maybe for me, it solidified my perspective, because there are a lot of African American women who do a lot of work behind scenes, or who are finally put in those leadership positions, for example, Ms. Antoinette. And so with her being elected, maybe that will allow other people to possibly give other African American women the chance that, and the opportunity that I feel like we've been working for and striving for in the first place. So I just think that in a way it solidified how much and how many Black women are trying to be leaders. And so I just think this just gave us an opportunity to actually be seen.
Yeah, I agree. I think what Mrs. Holmes said and what Angel said are very important. Representation matters so much. My daughter's, one's a sophomore at Indiana State. She graduated from CHIP in 2019, and I have another one that's a sophomore at CHIP right now. And for them, they received a lot of hate during 2019, 2020, just for being them, just for the color of their skin. And it was difficult for them, especially my youngest one. My oldest one is kind of bold, so she can go toe to toe with anybody that comes in her path. But my youngest one is very shy and doesn't really know how to verbalize a lot of things and her feelings. So to have someone like Kamala be in a position where she is, it kind of gives us as Black women that extra boldness, confidence that we may not have had before. I know for me in my campaign specifically, it was difficult. Many times I thought like, this is a bit much. I thought as a county commissioner, I would get some backlash, being the first African-American woman to be in the seat, but it was way more than I anticipated, way more than I prepared for. And it was difficult. So I can only imagine what she had to go through. And it was way more public than what I had to go through. For me, I could just Black people. There were many names and IP addresses that I had to get to the local police for me. So I can only imagine what she had to go through. But just to see her, go through the steps and keep her head up high, it helped me to do the same, because many times I would go to my campaign committee like, yeah, we may need to step back a little bit. It's a little rough, but just to see her and the people that backed her, including myself, and it just, gave me that much more confidence to keep going through to the end. So representation matters.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace, for all that you endured, to get into your position. So I truthfully appreciate that boldness. And I would just like to add that she has restored, Kamala Harris has restored my faith. I served in the military for 12 years, and I thought that I would retire from there. And then when Trump got elected and I started seeing how different soldiers was acting, like my safety was a concern. I'm like, okay, a Republican's in office, which typically means war. And I'm like, if we go anywhere else, I've already been to Afghanistan before. I didn't trust that they would protect me, or if not one of them, so I decided to get out. And I remember when I also worked full time for Blue Care Network, I remember in my interview, they had asked me, what do I aspire to be? And I'm like, I'm going to be mayor. And I used to say that all the time in college, that I'm going to be mayor of Grand Rapids one day. And just how the last few years have been, I'm just like, it has just like taken everything away from me. Like, it's like just seeing how ugly our government has become, what it has brought out in everyone, like it just turned me completely away from it. Like I wouldn't want to put my family through this or not, but like just seeing everything that she endured and what she stands for, like has restored my faith in everything. Like, we have to step up and be bold because nobody else is going to do it for us. So I'm thankful for her.
And thank you for your service too, Ms. Hills. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm a military wife, so I can imagine being on the other side.
Thank you.
They're very insightful. And with that, we're going to move on to the next question. This one is kind of geared towards Angel and Ariana specifically. So if you guys can answer it first, and then everyone else can put in their input as well. This past year, we witnessed the tragic murder of George Floyd, which sparked various protests across the world. What was your mindset when you decided to organize the march that took place on Hall Road? And to everyone else, what is your perspective or your view on the action that these young ladies took?
Well, before we even organized the march or anything, I was like during the week of everything going on, the chaos that was happening, the unfortunate death, the absolute terrible death of George Floyd, I FaceTimed Ariana and I was like, I'm so angry right now. And I told her I wanted to start a protest, I wanted to start a march. And Ariana was like, we can't do that. We cannot do that. And I was like, I wanted to so bad because I was literally so angry. And it was like I feel like as a community, every single Black person in the community was going through grief. And it was a very large moment of grief, and everybody was going through that. And our first instinct was anger. And from an outside perspective, people saw it as, oh, they're burning down buildings, all this bad stuff was happening. But people didn't realize that Black people were going through something that was mentally like changing. And it was at the moment, I was just really, really angry. And so I got a text from Ariana a few days later, and she was like, me and Mary, we all want to start a march. And I was like, I'm in, I'm gonna do it. And so that kind of sparked everything. And our mindset when we were going through it, we didn't realize how big it was actually going to be. And me and Ariana were talking about this earlier, is like, if we had known how much was happening and how much was going to happen, we would have prepared a lot more. It was so crazy because throughout the whole week I was getting death threats and a lot of crazy stuff that was happening, and people didn't know that I was like a 15-year-old girl at the time. So I was getting messages from a bunch of Trump supporters and a bunch of people that were against the idea of the march, not knowing that we specifically had put that it was going to be a peaceful march, bring your mask and everything. And I got multiple threats saying, I'm gonna bring my gun, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna hurt anybody who comes in my neighborhood. And we specifically, like, they didn't realize nobody was coming into their neighborhood. Nobody was gonna do that. Nobody was gonna go that far. And it was just because we had started up a march that people were so angry by it. And it really changed my whole entire view of like life. And it made me realize how much was against me as a Black woman. And I was definitely scared for my life. And just because the post was on my account and everything like that, and it was on mine and Mary's, and it was just a lot. And one day the police had actually showed up to my house, and it was just so crazy because it was like, I didn't know how they got my address or anything. So I woke up and my brother was like, Angel, the police are here for you. And I was like, okay. I had my bonnet on. I did not look right. And so I walked outside the door, and two Clinton Township police officers were outside, and they said, are you the organizer of the march on Hall Road? And I was like, yeah, I am. And they were like, we just want to know your intentions and everything that's going on, because we've got a lot of calls about it and we have no clue who's running this. And I said, I did not expect for it to get this big. I did not realize it was this much of a problem. And so I just explained to them that we want nothing bad to happen. We want this to be as a awakening, as a sign that Black people, we matter, and we want people to see what we are going through, our grief that we are going through, but in a peaceful way, so that nobody's getting hurt, nobody's getting put in jail. And we didn't want it to be something that was bad. And it wasn't until I had told them that I was 15 that they calmed down, really. I was like, I'm 15 years old. Like, they were like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 15. They were like, whoa, like, I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, this is something that, 3 young girls had made up, and it went a lot bigger than we had expected. So my whole mindset during the whole entire thing was that this is going to be a very small, private event that is going to not get blown out of proportion. There's not going to be a lot of stuff and that is going on. So yeah, it was just very, very crazy. And at the time, my mind was mainly just anger. It was just anger. I want to get this message out here. I want people to know. And yeah, that's basically how everything came about for me. Ariana?
So definitely, pretty much the same boat as Angel. And I do remember when Angel called me, she was like, I want to start a march. I was like, Angel, girl, it's, I was like, Angel, I don't know about all this, bro, and stuff like that. And at first I had dismissed it because I was just like, girl, do you see where we live? Do you see how many signs everywhere? Like, girl. So then Mary texted me a few days ago, a few days after, and stuff like that. And she was just basically talking like, dude, like, we should do it, stuff like that, and stuff like that. I was like, man, I mean, if 2 people came to me, I think that's a sign. So I texted Angel. I was like, all right, Angel, you got your wish, my guy. And like Angel said, it was more so like a kind of like a joke at first, because we did not really think that we could do that. So it was kind of like a joke and stuff like that. But then one night, I don't know, this was probably like 1 a.m, maybe even later. Angel like made the little flyer on like some like phone app or something like that. And they posted it and stuff like that. Like, I originally didn't post it because I was scared, bro. I was scared. I was like, these people are gonna get my IP address and stuff like that. And it's just crazy, like, how much like fear that came with it in the beginning. Like Angel said, we were literally just talking about this, like, looking back, like, if like, I wish we could like redo that time, but knowing all we know now, because back then it was really just like, okay, like, I want to do this and stuff like that, we're doing this, but it's also like, was kind of hesitant because we were just scared and stuff like that. But then like the actual day came, we saw like almost like, I think like 5,000 going on like 6,000 people in the crowd and stuff like that. And we were just like, and we were also planning for like 200 people. We were like 200 people, maybe, like, we were thinking, okay, ain't nobody really crazy enough to walk down Hall Road for real. But they was ready to march. So that was definitely something, seeing all those people. And it's like, also looking back, I really wish, because like, even though like that also wasn't our last protest, that we did actually. That was just like our big like first protest. And like looking back, I really wish at the time, because there were so many people, and it's like I understand that everyone can go out and protest, but there were so many people who were there on that day and they were like, all right, I've done my job, I've checked my list of activism, and they were gone. They vanished, you know. Me and Angel had like we had numerous other protests that we were like that we were involved in planning and stuff like that, because we did a lot of work in Shelby Township. Um, yeah, we did a lot of work in like Shelby Township over the summer against people like John Vermeulen and like, you know, like the police chief and stuff like that. And those people were gone. We were just like, hey guys, like we are doing more protests and stuff like that. And everyone was like, oh, like, oh, I don't know about that. And it was really like I understand, but it was really the worst one though was like the people who were like, oh, also people who I have not talked to in maybe years came out of the woodworks, like texting me and stuff like that, like, oh my God, so proud of you. Oh my gosh, if it was you, I would have came. If I knew if it was you, like I would have came and marched and stuff. I'm like, it shouldn't have had to be me, you know, you should have went because you wanted to go, you know, to the event for the event. You shouldn't, this isn't like a little birthday party or whatever, you know, and like you want to come out and stuff like that and like hang out. Like, girl, it should not have mattered who was hosting it, you know? Like, and it was just like, I don't know. It's just weird. I'm just like, why? I don't know. All these people texting me and stuff like that. And then we would post future protests. Like, people would be like, oh my God, I didn't know it was you. If, you know, next one you do, like, let me know. Then we would post them. Where the people at? Angel, did you see any of the people? Because I ain't see the people. So I was like, where y'all at? Like, it's your time to shine, you know, strength in numbers. And it's really just like, I really wish I could have gone back and just been like, if this is the only protest that you are going to this summer and you are not going to take any other type of form of action, you can really leave. Like, I know that sounds real bold, but honestly, I don't have the time for the activism that's like the fake activism, you know. I just don't have time for it. I'm just so tired of it. Like, this whole summer was spent like like I'm literally 16, and my whole summer was spent like it was spent getting yelled at by grown adults and like being intimidated by the police on the weekly. Okay, this was like a nice weekly event, like, you know, sometimes multiple times a week, that we would be out here and people would just scream some of the most disgusting things ever to us. And it was like there were times where I was in Detroit in the middle of the night, and we was just there, you know, and stuff like that, after we had just marched like a couple of blocks and stuff like that, because, you know, and it would be late, and yeah, everyone would be tired, our feet would hurt and stuff like that, but like we were there, you know, we were out there all the time. And it's just really like some people who only came to the first protest, again, I understand you can't make it out to every single one, but it's just like me and Angel really went through the ringer this summer. Okay. And then we went through the ringer, and there were things that happened that should not have happened to some teenage girls, and people said some real nasty things to us. And it's just annoying because it's just like, and it's also just like people sometimes will just be like, oh my God, like I started working at a new job and one of my coworkers like recognized me and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, like that was me, you know. And like, I don't know, like sometimes I don't talk about it because like, I don't know, I don't like to talk about it. Like, I'm proud of the day and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just like, it's just hard because it's just like when it comes with like that Ariana, like that Ariana is me, but like that Ariana comes like all the stuff over the summer. And it's just like went through a lot this summer, you know. And it's just like I'm proud of everything that happened, but sometimes there's certain things that I just don't need to relive, you know,
Yeah.
because some people were real evil. Like, I remember one thing that was painted in my head was me and Angel were, what was it, like Angel, like 23 and Van Dyke or something like that. I
Yep.
don't know.
We were laying down on the street.
Yeah, and we were laying down in the street. We had took the intersection, and it was like we were laying down on all four of all four sides, so you couldn't even get through if you wanted to. And I just remember some of like, I mean, it was amazing. But I just remember some of the things that people said to us when we did that, and like people threatening to run us over and all this stuff. And it was just like, bro, like, and like another time, me and Angel were walking from the CVS because, you know, it was hot. It was hot, bro. It was hot.
Yes.
We went to get some like Arizona tea or something like that. And this old man, Angel, I know you remember this old man.
I
He
do.
starts following us, and we're just like, hello, you know, like, hello. And all of a sudden, like, you know, we come accelerating, and all of a sudden the man starts yelling at us some real vulgar stuff, saying, you know, a lot of vulgar things and everything like that. And like, you know, just like a lot of vulgar things that, you know, he wished would happen to us, and like things he wants to do to us. And we were just like, and you know, Angel starts walking, but I started screaming at the man because I was like, excuse me, sir. Like, excuse me, sir. Like, I was like, sir, we have not even graduated high school yet. Like, sir, like, and it was just like the way that people react to situations is just crazy, because it's just like I don't know, some people just get so mad over certain stuff that they'll just go to certain lanes and just say things to people, and it's just like, you don't even know us. Like, we are literally minors, and you're saying these things. Like, it's just crazy how evil the world is. So I definitely wish, like, I could have went back to that day and just said, like, if you aren't going to stand with us for this, you know, until the end, then you can just leave, because people don't even know what me and Angel went through this summer, and like all the other people we went through with this summer. So it's just like, you can leave, you can get out. I don't care how rude it sounds. I don't care. If this is your only protest, leave, because I'm tired. I'm tired.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to add was like, my mom, our parents were definitely scared for our lives. I was not allowed at first to go to any protest. I was not allowed to anything. And so I told my mom, if you don't let me go to one, I'm going to start one. And that's another thing that happened where, and that's why me and Ariana also kind of started this protest, because my mom wasn't letting me go to one. So I definitely
We're like, well, you gotta let us go now.
Yeah, and I told her at first, I was like, it's gonna be small, it's not gonna be that big, like, don't worry, like, I'm gonna be fine, like, everything's gonna be okay, because me and Ariana were running it. So I had to tell her that, like, I have to be there. So I don't think she expected the turnout that happened, definitely, but my mom was definitely scared for our lives. And even after the protest had happened, a lot of things were like, she was like, I don't know if I want you going to that. And like, it was still kind of iffy, but I had to, because it was what we had to do that whole entire summer, was protest. But yeah.
Ladies, I just want to say that I commend you, your boldness, your bravery, all of that, the fire that you have inside of you. I remember being that. In college, we did a lot of protests. We went through the whole Trayvon Martin and the Sandra Bland and everything, as we, you know, were in college and everything. So, and I remember being on fire just like that, and being angry at people for not showing up. And like, government has been something that has always been a passion of mine. I got a master's in public administration, and I was in the military as well. But as you grow, you'll see that not everybody can be committed in that way. And just because everybody isn't there and don't show up the way that you do, there's people showing up in other ways. In this stage of my life, like, I wanted to be out there, but now I'm a mother of 2 babies. So I had to, their lives was, you know what I mean? Like, so, but I also know that by me joining the boards that I'm on, and me showing up to our city commission meetings, and me holding my commissioners and everything accountable for different things within our city, I know that that has a great impact on how our people are treated as well. So I want you to keep that fire that you have within you, keep going, but just know, though, just because those people aren't there and aren't showing up in the way that you are, don't discredit what they're doing. There are some people, I was angry at a whole lot of people, just like y'all, like, what is y'all doing? And even this year, still, there's still a lot of people who will talk on social media and it don't move further beyond that. But everybody has a role to play, you know, and everybody can't play every role either. So, but I'm so very proud of you, young ladies. I'm sorry that you had to endure all that you did. Please, if you are able, please, talk to somebody about everything that you've experienced, because you don't want to keep that stuff bottled up. That was very traumatic, and y'all should have not had to experience that at your age at all. So please try to talk to somebody about all of that and just, work through that.
Okay, I also have a question myself. Can you guys hear me? Because I'm speaking through my phone.
Yes.
Okay. So I just have a question myself, because growing up in the suburbs and, growing into being in a predominantly white school, and you guys being as young as you are, that y'all sat down and y'all organized this protest. Like, I just want to know, like, did it affect, like, your friendships? Because when you do grow up in the suburbs, it's a misspoken thing. Like, people don't talk about the fact that you kind of struggle with your identity of finding yourself, because you might have parents at home that do teach you about your African American history. You might not have parents at home that don't do that. So it's the fact that you guys sat and said that you didn't want to take that anymore, and y'all went and organized that protest. I just want to know, like, did you lose a lot of friends? Because you might have had some friends, like some Caucasian friends, Asian friends, and, anybody of any descent, that you just finally heard their opinion about everything that was going on, and it's just like, wow, I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah, we actually, our whole entire friend group had constantly discussed. We always reminded them about the stuff that we were for. And luckily enough, we have a good, solid group of friends who actually support what we were doing and actually, support us. But we did lose a couple. I won't lie. I personally did. Yeah, I got into some arguments sometimes because it just bothered me that, like, they didn't understand what I was going through and what, like, everything that was going on for the Black community. And at the same time, I cannot, I had to realize that they were raised a certain way and they have certain family members. And because some people have, fathers that are cops and everything that work in that time. And, like, even though our protest was peaceful and everything, and that there were literal cops that were leading our protest, they saw it as, oh, we're saying, all this stuff. And definitely did lose a couple friends for that. So it wasn't terrible, because I realized if they can't support what I'm doing, then we cannot agree on that. We cannot be friendly. They are in their own space, I'm in my own space, and that's just how it's always going to have to be. So, yeah.
It sounds like you lost some acquaintances, and you learned that they weren't actually your friends. They were merely acquaintances. And it may be painful, but that's probably a good thing to experience at this stage in your life. So as you go off to college, the military, the world of work, you will be able to recognize some things and then govern yourselves accordingly.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, on that note, it's definitely was kind of surprised by some people's Snapchat stories, because, some people really would post Blue Lives Matter, and I'm like, oh God. I was like, oh dear. Let's dissect that. And there were people who would like whenever it would be like, I would post like the protests we're doing, people slide up, nobody, someone like literally be like, oh, like nobody cares, blah blah, arguing. And it was like, definitely had to unadd a lot of people on like social media, because it was just like, I'm not arguing with you. Like, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'd give you the facts and stuff like that. Like, give you some, give you resources and stuff like that, and be like, here you go, stuff like that. Like, we can have a civilized conversation, but like, I don't got time to be arguing with somebody who's not gonna open their ears and listen. So definitely there were a lot of people that were like, well, most of like okay, like my two close, like I don't know, like I guess my two close like Caucasian friends that I've been friends with since, you know, literally like the dawn of time. Anna and Mikey, if you guys are watching this, hey besties. But yeah, they were already like super down, like and stuff like that from the very beginning. Like I didn't even have to tell them like, oh, blah blah, like here's why you should say Black Lives Matter. But it was kind of sad, like Angel said. Like I remember like a big thing kind of went down in a friend group and stuff like that. Like it's in the past now and everybody's like talked it out and everything, like, but it's definitely just crazy how fast, like, you know, you can lose a friend over stuff like this.
So just to like move on to another question with you guys. So just with that and bringing that up, my question is like, when did you guys learn that your perspective was like needed to move things forward, move things along to make a change?
So definitely what I said a lot during a march was like, I think people like not only our perspective, but like our ages, I feel like really played a big play in it, because us being, you know, like literal teenagers, I know that really helped with a lot of like people, and like, because you know, I know there were a lot of people who are like me and saying like, oh, we can't do that, like we're kids, like I don't like, we can't do that. But I mean, then we did it and people saw, they were like, hey, like it doesn't matter how old I am, if it's something that I'm passionate about, you know, then I should just go at it. And I remember like then afterwards, like for like the weeks after, people and like other teenagers or anybody would be sending us like the protests they did. Like I remember so the day of the actual protest was like, um, I like, you know, there was a lot of Instagram DMs and stuff like that, and I was answering them and stuff like that, blah blah. And I remember there was this one girl who was like, "Hey, like I want to start a protest, and I was wondering how you guys did it and stuff like that." And I was like, "I'm gonna be real with you, bro. I don't know like how we got here, but um, you know." But then I gave her like some advice and stuff like that and everything. Like I was like, if we were actually like this is what I would do now that I've done it, like here's what I would do to like, you know, and stuff like. And then she sent me actual like pictures from her protests and stuff like that and everything like that. She lived like a minute away, so we couldn't make it out and stuff like that, because you know I didn't drive at that time. So but it was nice because I was just like, it was nice to see other teenagers who, you know, were like planning their own things because they saw other teenagers, and that was the little push that they needed, and I really like that.
Well, that was also a general question for everybody too. So if anybody else has anything to add, you can.
Can you repeat the question?
Basically, when did you recognize, or from what perspective, or what happened that made you realize, like, okay, I can start doing something to make a change in the community, or put a foot forward, or try anything just to make a change?
Okay, I can start. So I'm a kindergarten teacher, and at the school that I'm at, I am the only African American teacher in the building. I would say the only person in the building, but there is a parapro who is African American. So there were a few things. I decided to join the diversity committee. I mean, feel like that's where I should, you know, go and join. And with that, you know, I was able to voice my opinions about how other cultures should be represented throughout the year, the school year. And so I implemented to have the families share what holidays and traditions, or more so holidays that they celebrate, so that that can be included in our school calendar that gets sent out. I also, me and a few parents, really just two or three parents, we did a Black History Month last year, the year before the pandemic, to where I highlighted African American authors and some local authors, and we put that in a media center. And then in the main lobby area, we did a lot of visual representations of African Americans in different genres, not just the the basic sports and actors and actresses as well. And then we also did, I helped with creating a few assemblies to highlight African-American sororities and fraternities. And we talked about the start of Black History Month, as well as storytelling. So highlighting those areas. So hi, Sora, Monique. The other thing is being the only African-American teacher, when it came to being bold, sometimes, with hair, especially. At first, I was a little nervous about like how I would be received when I would wear my hair natural, twist outs, braids, things like that. And just seeing how some people react, you can tell some of them are just really just trying to be nice. And you can tell that some of them, just really didn't know, we're just asking questions. And so, and that was another opportunity for them to hear a different perspective of how we carry ourselves and how it's still professional, the way we wear our hair, just emphasizing that as well. But just seeing an African-American woman in a different light of what they may have seen in media or from other places. So that would be my input.
So I would say, I don't know if it was the protest or the unfortunate deaths, but in my place of work, I'm the only Black person. Well, I was the only Black person on the entire floor. I'm the only Black person on my team. So I'm always standing up and speaking out. It's just, I can't help it. So when, maybe it was the George Floyd incident, our CEO sent a message out corporate wide, and I was shocked because he's a conservative guy, older white male, decent guy, but conservative guy. And I was shocked that he sent a statement out. But that appeared to be it. I sent him a message saying, thank you so much. There was no response. I don't know if he was stunned that somebody responded or not. Fast forward, I reach out to a manager in the HR department to ask what the plans were for diversity and inclusion for our organization. Hey, I was talking to someone and they asked me if I thought about HR as a possible career choice, and not really, but the diversity and inclusion part, it's not a program, it's a process. It needs to be a part of the culture. And I didn't hear that. Then maybe they were talking about it, but I didn't hear that. So when I went to the manager, she thanked me for it. Young white female, thank you. And do you know? And then, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, there's a lunch next week. Let me forward that to you. And she, along with our vice president of human resources, attended. And the VP in turn reached out to me to thank me for informing them of the event. They were very impressed with the speaker and are looking to possibly have him come and speak to our management team and then maybe the entire corporation. Again, I don't know if they had any plans to do that, but I know that our HR department is totally white. Not to say that they aren't aware, but that wouldn't be their focus, if you will. There's no diversity there on that team. And so I just felt it was necessary okay, I don't know if anybody else raised their hand, but this is something you guys should take a look at. And so even prior to that luncheon, I would send like, hey, FYI, this panel is happening, this luncheon is happening. Just, forward an email. But I did take it upon myself to, at this point, call. Like, we use Teams and Skype to kind of inter-office talk. and I'd say, hey, do you have a few minutes? I'd like to talk to you. I like to ask you something and tell you something. And so that was my, like, hey, I'm just going to step from behind the keyboard and say, hey, as an organization, what are we going to do? And if, you know, there aren't any plans, here's some steps that you can take. So.
Alrighty, can everyone hear me? Better,
Yes.
okay, better than last time. Okay, so did anyone else want to speak on that? If not, I have another question about your career fields, so you may be able to coincide with that one. Angel, did you have something?
Yeah, I just something that like has always stuck with me, like about like what made me want to like do something to change, like what made me realize was when I was younger, I grew up in a very, 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 very white area. And I was like, there was only like 2 or 3 Black girls in my class. And I was walking home with my mom one day, and a group of white guys in like a Corvette or something, was rolling down, like they rolled past us and they yelled the N-word at my mom. And I didn't understand what the word meant at the time, obviously. And I had saw like the anger on my mom's face, and my mom kind of had to explain to me what had happened. And so like growing up, I always like knew that I was Black from that moment. And I would scream like I'm Black and I'm proud in class sometimes, like during recess and stuff, like indoors. And so I've always wanted a type of change. Like I was always making like clubs and stuff like that, and like trying to enforce more diversity in my class from a young age. And that experience kind of like made me realize that I have to do something to create a change where that won't happen to my mom anymore. That won't happen to me. I don't want my kids seeing that happen to me in the future. And so that was definitely something that changed my perspective. And also just like the deaths also that happened recently, and seeing the Trayvon Martin, and also like the Black history representation at my school was very, very bad in middle school. So I remember being so angry about that I had emailed the district and I told them, we need more of this. We need more Black history. And then the next year at Chippewa, there was African American history classes. And I was like, okay, there's something. And that really made me realize that I could do something to change.
Can I say something really quick? Because actually, like I said, I grew up in the suburbs. I went to mostly DPS schools or charter schools before I got into middle school. And so when I did come out here, I was well aware of my history. But once I got to like 12, 13, and I was finding my way and making my friends, I was becoming complacent with just letting stuff happen and not saying anything, because it was kind of like, do I say something and have them say something to me, or do I stand up for what I know is right? And, you know, I was always a very outspoken person, so I always said what was on my mind. But it really didn't like strike me until high school when I met Mr. Holmes, because when Mr. Holmes came, there were a lot of Black kids coming into Chippewa, and the whole environment was changing. And at the same time, you could kind of see like a divide between the two. But you could see Mr. Holmes step up, and all of the Black kids love Mr. Holmes. Everybody loved Mr. Holmes. I still love Mr. Holmes. And he just made it a safe place to come and sit in his office, explain the problems. He'll let you know what's right with him, what's wrong, because at the same time, yeah, we have our teachers that are at Chippewa and who teach us things, but we also needed that mentor that could sit down and help us with our real life situations, because we're young, going through a lot of things. And Mr. Holmes, he was there for us, and everybody that would just come in his office, give us passes, wink, wink. So, yeah, Mr. Holmes, he was the reason why we started the Be the Change podcast, and this panel it's just been getting a lot of more love because you have more student involvement, because you have a mentor that's there to connect with the African American students or any child of color that goes to Chippewa. So yeah, that's mine.
Yes,
Very,
that is so
very
true.
proud of Mr. Holmes.
Yeah. Representation is very important. I would say the same thing. It's just important to have people that are, that can mentor you and that can be there for you through a time of need and that can stir you in the right direction, because that's just very, very important. The next question that we have is kind of about the particular career fields that you all may be in, because I know they may all be a little bit different. So we just wanted to know if you can give us like a particular example of a time of boldness and courage, and a time when you needed some courage in your particular career field, or just a certain instance when you felt like you needed to step up and you needed to make yourself known.
Well, I'll step out. As I said, I work for a financial institution headquartered in Macomb County, and as such, the majority of my fellow team members are not people of color. Although, you could, live anywhere, come from anywhere, but just by virtue of where it is, that is not the case. I've led some projects where I had to be assertive. And there was one project that I was working on, and I was having a stakeholders meeting where, representation from all departments were there, managers and above. And I had met with this particular manager privately about a certain aspect. And I explained to him, the budget will not allow, you would like X, Y, and Z. The budget will not allow that. So this is private in his office. When we get to the meeting with everyone, he brings it up again. And I said, I'll just call him Sam. Sam, if you give me money from your budget, we can make it happen. But this budget will not allow that. And that was it. He thought he could shame me, embarrass me, make me fold by bringing it up in front of because when I met with him privately, my manager wasn't there. And he outranks me, if you will. But again, I was responsible for a budget. I was not going to blow it just because of his whims. And privately and publicly, I stuck to my guns. And it was important. There was no, neck rolling. I wasn't loud, but I was firm and clear that it wasn't going to happen. Now, it happens a lot, just being a woman in the workplace. And I'm certain that it happens even more being a woman of color, a Black woman in the workplace. But I don't let that deter me. I did have one of my teammate members who is a young white female who, when we were meeting on something else, she was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You stuck up for yourself. I need to do that often." I said, well, I run the risk of being the angry Black woman, but I'm going to speak up for what is right and do the right thing. I mean, I'm going to be Black no matter what. So I'll work on the angry part and just simply stating my position and being firm with it. I don't go with, what about, no. I'm straight, no, I won't say no chaser, but very little chaser, just straight to the point so that they understand that it is what it is.
I think
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I think for myself, I learned very early that I can't tiptoe around a lot of things. I grew up downriver in Woodhaven, and most of the time, and all through elementary, my brother and I were the only Black kids there. In middle school, there were 3 of us. In high school, there were 12. So I think the first time I was pretty much told, to be quiet, and you're Black, so sit down type of thing. I was in preschool, and was told, you can't play with my kid because you're Black. So go to the corner or whatever. And at that time, my parents didn't really say, you're Black, this is what people are going to say to you. And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Like, I'm brown, she's a lighter brown. What's the big deal? But I knew then that there was no, there's no going to the corner. There's no, you can't tell me where I need to be. So from, I think high school, college at Ferris State, I've always tried to make an inclusion type of group or program or something. My degree is in marketing, specializing in advertising. I worked on some pretty big campaigns, and often was tried to, voice my opinion and push to the side until I could get a little louder. But then in the back of your head, you have to say, well, don't get too loud, because then you're sounding like that Black girl that everyone is waiting for you to be. So there's a thin line, when I got out of advertising, got into real estate, and in my training in real estate, there were things, ways that some people could get around some things. But if I did that, it would almost be illegal. So you have to know you have to know where the line is for you as a Black person, and even as a Black woman, because there's a different line. So it's always in the back of your head, how far can I go? What can I do? What can I say? How loud can I be? And then politics, whole different, a whole different monster, because when I'm going, they're training you, smile, don't say this, you mean this, but don't say you mean it like that. Say it with this word, not that word, because then you can seem too soft. But if you say this word, you seem too angry. So say this one in the middle, and then if I say the wrong word, people like, it's like, you, as a Black woman, it's always a line you're riding on it. Yes. I remember one time I was, door knocking, and this guy, he starts yelling at me about a piece of I'm door knocking, trying to get his vote as county commissioner. He starts yelling at me about a piece of property that I'm selling as a real estate agent, that he doesn't like the lot. And I'm just like, sir, I'm so sorry that you don't like this piece of real estate. I'm here to see, as a resident of the District 9, I'm running for county. No, well, if you can get that lot right, then you can vote. I can vote for you. And he just gets louder and louder and louder. And then I see the people that I'm with, like, no, don't get too loud. Just back up. And me, I'm like, look, you yelling at me about something I don't have any control of. You want someone else to come mow a lawn. I don't mow the lawn, so I'm going back and forth with this guy. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to state my point because he's absolutely wrong. But I can't say too much, because then I'm the angry Black woman that's running for commissioner, or I'm the crappy real estate agent that can't get something done. It's like, I'm just trying to give you this piece of paper that tells you about myself. That's all I wanted. But he sees this woman that he can yell at for no, I'm not your friend, I'm not your wife, I'm not your girlfriend, I'm not your sister, I'm not your mother, I'm no one, in that area that you should feel that comfortable of stepping to in my face. But because you're a man, you feel like, oh, here's this woman, she knows of something that, you know, I don't like, so I'm going to yell at her. How about you yell at the man that was over in that lot yesterday mowing the lawn? You looked at him. But for me, you got in my face and yelled at me. That's unacceptable. So I had to, you know, I had to know my line, because you can't put yourself at risk. Because clearly, if he's getting in my face, how far are you going to go? But I did have to let him know he was wrong, he was rude, and he was out of place. And then, you know, then he's mad because I spoke up for myself. So he goes in his house and you can hear him yelling at me from, he closed his door and he's still yelling. So, you know, in any situation, whether it's huge or something smaller, it's like you have to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely.
But you have to know it, as a Black woman, there's always a line. There's always a balance, like Ms. Harlan said. And it's sad that we have to, we're trying to defend ourselves, but at the same time trying to, you know, juggle and walk a tightrope. But that's just, it's sad that it's still like that, but that's how it is. And I think that's why we are able to balance and run so many things so well, because we do have that a lot of people will never have.
Yes, I definitely agree with you as far as like how far you can go. There was a certain situation, there was a presentation that was presented to the school, to students. It was a positive presentation, but the delivery seemed a little off for me as far as how they represented a particular group. And so I felt uneasy about it. This is like my second year at this school. I'm the only Black person at this school. I didn't know how the principal would react or how the parents would react to it. So I'm nervous because you don't know how or what the result would be. But I went into the office and I explained my feelings about how I felt about the situation. And she was like, wow, you're right. I didn't look at it that way. And plus she was new as well. So she, you know, when it came to that certain presentation, this was just something that we did every year. So she was just new to it as well. So at first I was nervous about that, but the way that the principal handled the situation, it made me feel like, okay, so whew, all right, I didn't get fired or no parents are going to come after me or anything like that, but you're always worried because you're the only one, or you don't want to be labeled as this or somebody that's always complaining or always angry. You're always nervous about the reaction. So you're always thinking about the different scenarios that could arise, like you said, Antoinette. And so that would be my way too. And also being on diversity committee, there are certain conversations that we will have. And sometimes I'm the only one as well with that. And so sometimes I'll feel as if, okay, I need to let them know my perspective about this. I'm not the token Black person that will be representative of all Black. We are not monolith, like we're all different, you know, but just to get them a perspective of how students may feel or how adults may feel in certain situations. And sometimes they just never had that opportunity to listen to somebody, especially since they're the one helping to present the information as well. So I had the opportunity to present that information out to people. So you're always nervous about that as well. But even if your voice is shaking, or even if you are the only one, it's good to just put it out there so that they can think about it, and so that you can feel more bold about who you are and what you can help others feel as far as how we are in a way.
Did anybody else have anything else to add?
Well, I'll just say, so my perspective is a little different, guys. So I unfortunately did not grow up in the suburbs. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in the projects and in a single parent household. So it was a lot of, you know, the stereotypical type of Black women around. So me handling different issues and different things growing up was handled in like in a different way. So when I joined the military, of course, it had instilled a lot of discipline in me. And because I was so bold in who I was and how I carried myself, I got placed into leadership roles, right? Because bossy little girls is really means you're a great leader, girls. So I got placed in leadership roles. However, a lot of my white male counterparts did not like that at all. One particular evening, when I joined the military at the time, we couldn't have our cell phones and everything. And the night that your drill sergeant that was assigned to your platoon was in charge, then you could use the pay phones to call home to your family. But we only had a certain time slot that we were able to use the phone. And then we would have to get out of line because there's other soldiers who need to, call out their families. So since it was my squad who was about to go, my platoon who was about to go, so I'm watching the time, telling everybody, okay, wrap up your calls, just like I did for everyone who went prior. This one guy, he just refused to get off the phone. And so I'm like, you have to leave. Like, there's other people who need to call, And so he gets so angry and he slams the phone down and he called me a black A N-word with the ER on the end. And I instantly just punched him in his eye. And I not even thinking okay, I'm here in the military, you know what I mean? I just put my hands on somebody else, not even thinking about my actions. But because I was so offended by what he said to me, and I've been in situations like that just because of the neighborhoods and environments that I grew up in, that I held that meant that much to me, that I was willing to put things at risk at that point. However, after that moment, literally everything changed from how all the white males treated me and acted towards me. Everything had changed. It was like, oh, okay, we know not to mess with her and the people that I was with. It literally changed the dynamic of literally everything. And so moving forward, and as I was navigating leadership, and luckily for me, my drill sergeant was a Black man. So I ended up having to tell him what happened because somebody had threatened to that if I didn't, they would tell. So I went to him and told him, hey, this is what happened. And I punched him in the face. I apologize. As the platoon, we talked about it. He just needs to stay away from me. So there's no repercussions that need to happen, because he will always just tell us y'all come tell me first and y'all won't be in trouble. And but he was so upset as a Black man that, he dealt with him as well. And so, but it just that boldness, and he was always in your career, you step up for yourself, no matter how that is. You have to step up for yourself. So I carried that with me in everything that I don't be putting my hands on people, y'all. But just navigating, going to college and getting mentors and learning how to get that side out of me, you know what I mean? Because I think the stereotype, the angry Black woman, comes from a lot of women who were placed in certain situations that we've dealt with struggle, you know what I mean? Certain situations have made us angry, and and a lot of women don't know different ways to process that anger, so it comes out in a manner that other people just haven't learned to communicate yet. And thankfully the women that I have surrounded myself with have taught me other ways to communicate my emotions, so I'm thankful for that.
Because I was just about to ask a question about that, because even though I can be an understanding person, but when I just don't like something, I don't like it. So the backstory about is, me and my mom, we were watching Lean on Me yesterday. And the part where Joe Clark came in the room and he was sending down his rules and he was telling everybody, it's going to be like this. Gonna be like this, and y'all better not have nothing to say about it. And he told Mr. Darnell, the football coach, that he was the football coach no more. And I turned, I looked at my mama, I said, I would have just got up and walked out. So it's just hard because, like I said, I did grow out. I grew up out in the suburbs, but I did go to school all the way, DPS charter schools, all the way up until I was 12 years old. So it was kind of I acted kind of differently than the other kids did when I first came. So I feel she's struggling. Like, all right, I don't want to say this because I don't want them to look at me this type of way, or I don't want to react this way because then they don't look at me like, oh, she just ghetto, she ratchet, she, like, especially in this day and age, that's how they look at you, and that's how the white kids, now they find that amusing. They pump fuel out of that. They think it's funny. They record you. They put you on social media. They think it's funny. So, like, it's just hard to contain, like, reacting to that, because how are you supposed to react? Because if you act a certain way, then they gonna call you all those names. But if you don't, like, do you just let all these people walk all over you, or do you just, like, how do you react in certain situations? Because, like you said, when he called you those names and you pushed him in the thigh, I would have did the same thing. Because it's just either, like, you put your foot down or you don't. It's hard to be in the middle. So I just had a question, like, how did you guys handle that? Like, going to school, growing up, and then work too.
Oh, I had something to say about that. I don't know if everybody knows, but when I went to Chippewa, I was, I guess you can say, the leader that nobody thought that I was going to be. And I ran for a lot of presidential roles and stuff like that, that there had never been a Black young woman to do before. And I kind of learned, I ran for like student government president every year and got it every year. And throughout that process, because I went to a charter school in Detroit until 8th grade, so I had not had an experience around white counterparts. I didn't really know what to do or how to react or how they would react to some Black girl coming from Detroit trying to be the president and everything at a predominantly white high school. So something that I would say that helped me, like, keep achieving my goals and keep and not let, like, my white counterparts affect my vision, was to keep my eyes on the vision and realize what I was going towards. Because I knew that Spelman was a very competitive school and that I needed to be in certain presidential roles and certain positions to stand out in my application. And when I first got into the 9th grade center, I ran for president. And I remember to this day, I was walking down the hallway and I just heard like a group of people and they were like, who is this Black girl running for president? Where did she even come from? She's not going to win. And I just went home to my mom. I'm like, I cannot believe this. Like, and I was really like distraught because I never had experienced anything like that. And like I said earlier, it's very important to have certain mentors and people that will be there through your process, because my mom has always worked around white counterparts. She has always had bosses that didn't look like her and employees and stuff like that that could not relate. So she was able to help me through that and help me realize what I needed to achieve, and that it's important to keep your eyes on the prize. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but it really does mean a lot. So I would just say, especially like for like the younger girls, just making sure that you realize exactly what you may want to achieve while you're in school. I don't know if anyone else was interested in HBCUs or not, but if you're at a PWI and you just feel like certain people are not very supportive of what you want to achieve, just at the end of the day, make sure that you know exactly what you want to do. Because if you really want something, you can achieve it. You're not going to let anything or anybody stop you from doing it. So it's very important to have a goal and not let the negativity or anything like that stop you, because I could have let those white boys get in my head and I could have never been president of the student councils and student governments and probably couldn't have gotten into Spelman. So it was very important for me to just like silence that out and just keep it pushing and find a way to achieve my goals. So keep your eyes on the prize. Did anyone else have anything to say about that?
Well, can I go back to something that Desiree said? She talked about, you know, wanting to react and not react and that sort of thing. You talked about keeping your eye on the prize, and sometimes that dictates what your reaction is going to be, right? You have to look at, if I do such and such, what's going to happen to me? And that should be your first thought. Well, maybe your second thought, like, is God going to be pleased, and what's going to happen if I do what I'll do? So that's the thing. Be true to yourself, but think about how you can react, because you could, go to the extreme of, I'm going to dot your I and actually dot that I. There may have been repercussions, but even because Terrell was in a leadership position, she had a right to tell that soldier what to do, and he was out of order. I don't know all the repercussions that she could have faced, but the fact that he disobeyed a direct command, he had trouble, right? So with you all in school and work, you would think about, no, you're not going to talk to me that way. But that doesn't mean that you respond with expletives that may have been used against you. You can respond, but do it intelligently. Don't, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. That's hard sometimes. When they go, we go high, when they go low, excuse me. It's hard sometimes, but it's important because they're going to remember your reaction. They may not remember what precipitated the whole situation, but they're going to remember your reaction, and that could affect you going down the line. So Monet talked about, wanting to build a robust profile and application. You have to think about, well, okay, I need a recommendation from somebody outside of Mr. Holmes. Is Mr. Smith going to see me cutting a monkey, and then I turn around and ask him for a recommendation? It's not going to work. Mr. Holmes might see it and know that what your character is, and he may investigate the entire situation and know that you were justified in it. Mr. Smith, on the other hand, may not take that step. Same thing with us in the world of work. People say and do things that are so out of order. And of course, the first reaction is to get them straight, put them in their place. But you think about it, what is going to be the end result for me? How is that going to affect me positively or negatively? Is it worth it? So sometimes you have to get people all together, as you say, but in private. You have to pull them to the side and tell them how they're out of order, and not and mean what you say, but just think about the repercussions, because you don't want somebody else to come in and they only see one perspective. And so when it's time for a promotion or to be on a certain panel or delegation, we can't trust that, Ariana's going to represent us well because of that one time that she did X, Y, and Z. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yes, and I would like to piggyback on that. You always have to weigh your risk in literally every decision that you make. As you progress throughout your life, like, the hard work that you guys are putting in now, everything, like you don't want somebody to be able to snatch anything away from you just based off of reaction, one wrong reaction, that you have. So any decision that you're making, always weigh your risk, please.
Especially in this age of social media, you guys, there are certain things that happen, and I think like, wow, that person would probably be in jail if we had this, that, they would never be elected to office because of this. And, we talked about this a little bit at the panel, I guess that was last year now, the panel about the behavior. And Desiree talked about the fact that some of your classmates will egg you on because they want to see you react in a certain way. They're looking at this as, oh, this is TMZ, this is World Star. But this is really your life, because some employer, recruiter, you may be a business person and there may be a venture capitalist that's looking at investing in your business, or you have a nonprofit that somebody has a grant. You want to make sure that, you know, as much as possible, your electronic footprint is stellar. You don't want to give anybody, we already have things against us. We already know that we have to be extraordinary. Well, other people can just be, you know, mediocre. Well, we have to be extraordinary. And the reactions that you may think you want to make because of this, you know, just take a deep breath. You know, take a deep breath.
Yes, and with that, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add to that. I just have one more question to add because it kind of coincides. But what advice, besides what everything that you ladies have already given, what other advice would you give your younger self if you could go back and say something to her? So that kind of goes there.
I would say, go ahead,
No.
Trey.
So basically, something that I would say to, like, not even like my younger self, but just like my past self, because something recently has happened in my workplace. Because I just got a job like recently, and it's my first job ever. And in the first like week of me having this job, my job decided to have a party. We do this like it's like a monthly party, just like for everybody to get closer, get to know each other. And I dealt with a microaggression at the party. And it wasn't directed towards me, but it was just an ignorant comment that this white guy had made about Black people, because he had a Black colored mask because it was a Halloween party. So he had a Black colored mask and made an ignorant remark about Black people regarding it. And I was sitting in my coworker's car when he had said it, and he didn't see me in the back seat because her back windows were dimmed, and he had said it. And it was like a moment of my heart dropping, and I just wanted to go home very bad. And the only thing that I did in that situation was tell my manager about it. And the next day, the next time that I went to work that next week was my manager had came up to me, my other one, and he had said, "Do you want to take this to HR?" And I told him, no, I don't want to, but I think back then I would have, I wish I had told myself to go ahead and do it, because it's something that by allowing that kind of allows that behavior. And like if I could go back and say yes, I definitely would. But just because the incident is so long ago, I feel as though like I can't really go back to it now, because then everybody's gonna be like, oh, she's bringing up stuff from the past, you know. And I just wish I had spoke up more in this situation. If I had just like told him that's not right at all, if I had went out and outlashed on him, not outlashed, but like kind of reprimanded at him about it, or just told him that's not right, because I think I see him as just a kid that doesn't know what that actually does to a Black person when they hear those type of things, or just saying that stuff in general, because they think those ignorant comments are okay when it's not. And a lot of coworkers at my job kind of have that mentality, because a lot of them are men, and they think, oh, saying the N-word isn't bad. We say it on Call of Duty servers all the time, and it's like that's not a normal thing to do. And I actually got into arguments with my coworker about how when white people say the N-word, it is a bad thing. Like it's something that I wish I had told my younger self.
I would say, so kind of like what Angel said, speak up, kind of no matter what the consequence may be. That was something like growing up, I like to follow rules And so sometimes, you know, obviously that's good trouble as far as you speaking up when things aren't right. And so I wish there were moments in the past, like, you know, when you first get your first job and things like that, and things you weren't treated fairly, to, you know, actually speak up about some of those things, and know that most of the time you'll have some support behind you. If not from maybe hopefully the HR employers, but from your family. And I'm pretty sure my parents would definitely would have had my back in that situation. And another thing would be to open yourself up to women, as far as women of color or women that you'll feel comfortable with, because you never know exactly, most of the time they have experienced the same thing or they're going through the same thing with you. And so you're not alone. And so sometimes you may feel like you are alone because, for example, in education, some schools, they spread out our Black teachers. So you may not even know how many people, African-American teachers, are even in the district. And so once you open yourself up and you search out those people and you realize, oh, I'm not by myself, they've been through this before, you'll definitely feel better about your situation, and you'll feel more bold to speak out because you'll definitely have that support. And friends, as far as making sure that you are surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Tanel is my line sister as well. And growing up, not growing up, in our college life, we went through a lot of things together, and we were able to talk out a lot of things. She supported me in a lot of things. I supported her. We both kind of opened our mindset about certain things because of our relationship. And sometimes, you know, you'll never know what that relationship or those connections could bring you, as far as how you can be bold yourself or how you can support others. So it's really important to have like-minded friends around you as well while you're growing up. It's not always about having a lot. It's about having quality people that you can trust.
Absolutely. And I wrote that down as well. Mentorship and building your networks. That is so important. Um, because like I told you guys the way that I grew up. So it wasn't a lot for me to physically see. Like I knew a lot that I did not want, but trying to like seek out the things that I knew that I wanted to see as an adult. Like I had to go, like I would go over people's house and I was just observing like how different women carried themselves, how they loved on their husband and on their children and different things. I'm like, okay, this is what I want for my family. So, connect with those people. Like just don't just observe them, but build relationships. Like people can pour into you. A lot of times we don't get everything that we need at home, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean that you can't grow to learn with, you know, how to have all of those skills and everything that you feel like you missed out on. Travel, please, as much as you guys are able once you get into college and everything. Be bold and don't give up on your daydream. Like as a kid, you're so bold and so courageous in what it is that you want to be, and you can accomplish, you know, you can conquer the world. Don't give up on that. Like keep that same fire. Don't let anybody talk you out of something that you are strongly passionate about. That it was that God showed you that vision for a reason. So follow your heart.
I think I would tell my younger self, at least my undergraduate self, is to look further at the big picture. I had an opportunity to work at Disney over the summer, but the salary was so low, like you had to pay for your own housing, and that just wasn't realistic for me because I needed to make money to be prepared to go back to school the next semester. And so I didn't, and I mean, like I was looking at dollars and cents, but I didn't look at having Disney on my resume. That would have paid bigger dividends. I've done well, thank God, but that might have given me a leg up had I had Disney on my resume. So that's just one instance where just looking at the big picture, looking at not just looking at dollars and cents, and smile more. I would tell my younger self that.
Okay, guys, so we're down to the last question. And this one is, what changes do you feel are necessary for women overall to feel bold or brave, whether it's life or your career or like, anything in general, Macomb County, the world, any like a certain country?
One thing that I say to myself daily and to my kids is no regrets. There are a lot of things that, I wish I would have done in college, but I was so focused on this or that I didn't get to do. I could have done, but chose not to. And then, different jobs I passed up or different opportunities that I passed up that I wish I would have done. So for me, I would definitely say no regrets. When I made the decision to run for commissioner, it was more of a decision like, do I see I can make a difference? Will I regret not doing this, or will I regret doing it? And it definitely weighed more of, I would absolutely regret not doing it. So I like to now, like to say daily, live with no regrets. When I go to sleep at night, I like to say, okay, my day is done. Tomorrow's not promised. I can lay down and say I have no regrets of my decisions today. So that's one thing as women, because we will beat ourselves up over decisions we make. So just have no regrets. And I know sometimes you're like, yeah, that's not exactly possible, but try to make it as possible as you can. Think about the decisions you're going to make. Have a balance of fun and business. Make smart decisions. And at the end of the day, if you can check off your list and say, you know what, I've done good, I have no or maybe very little regrets about my day, I think that you as a woman have done well.
Something I would like to add on to that is like I feel like personally as women, again, like representation matters. So I think making sure that we're all on your way to success, and just like make sure that you are constantly seeing faith in yourself, because I feel like as women, there's a lot of times when we decide to degrade ourselves, especially as Black women. We see especially with the internet, there's a lot of people constantly degrading us or that type of thing, and we have to realize that we are above that, and that we're stronger than that. And as Black people, we have it instilled in us that, that core that we have, and that strength, because I feel like we as Black people would not have gone through a lot of things without the strength and the resilience that we've had. And keeping the insights of our leaders, and just not our leaders, but, just people that have generally really, really made a big change. And especially with like Martin Luther King Day, my mom always makes sure to remind me who is the reason why we are here and why we are able to do that. And we have to continue making that change, to continue installing diversity. And as women especially, we have to step up to those men that decide to be, rude, and make them realize that this is everybody. This is an everybody space, and it's not just yours. And I'm not gonna sit here and make a sandwich for you. It's things that we have to be resilient about, and we have to realize why we are here, and that's where the change is going to be, especially since we have more women in our office now. So that's another great thing.
One thing I would definitely say that I feel like could change women as a whole is just to be honest and real about what you're going to go through growing up as a woman, because just from past years, women were always taught to cover it up and put your smile on and to look pretty. But when you do get older and you start to experience things, it's hard for women to come to you and tell you the honest truth. Like, this is going to happen and you can't change anything about it. Like, our bodies, we have like a whole different depiction of what a body is supposed to look like, but that's not what it is. And then you have girls growing up to want to get plastic surgery, to want to look like certain people, but because they weren't, they didn't have somebody tell them, like, you're a woman, it's natural for you to look like this, it's natural for you to have these things, and it's natural for certain things to happen a certain way. So I just think, like, having somebody there to tell you that, you know, you're gonna get into a relationship, stuff might happen. It's okay to, you know, like a boy at a certain age, or just different type of things. Because I have nieces and I have older sisters myself. So, but I grew up like around my brothers. So it's kind of like to be able to hear from them and what they experience, because I know it's going to be real. It provides me insight into my life in order for me to, you know, just keep maneuvering around the obstacles that could come my way, or stuff that just happens every day. I have that insight, but then I also have what I learned myself to keep growing and, like, you know, to grow.
The question that Desiree asked was about changes. One of the last questions she asked, and I wanted to say that maybe not changes, but to continue to build on the foundation that we have. At the beginning of our conversation, I talked about the fact that people outside of our community are starting to recognize that Black women bring a lot to the table. We are very capable. Most of us have had the opportunity to see women in our families, our circles, our workplaces, or what have you. Maybe we've read about these women, or saw movie depictions, etc. And I would say the thing to continue the change in a positive direction is to just continue to build on that legacy of excellence. No matter what field you decide to pursue, just try to build on excellence. I think Tanil said something about building your network, your circle. You never know how you could help someone, and in turn be helped yourself. So don't disregard any relationship that you have the opportunity to make, because you just never know how it's going to impact you or your community in the long run.
I would like to add on to what Ms. Monique said about that. Also, women to continue, I'm starting to see a positive wave of women just supporting women, because normally women are put against each other, whether it's through entertainment or beauty, things. There's a lot of different ways that they pit women against each other. But for example, Stacey Abrams, Mayor Bottoms, they, everybody was working together to make sure that, people were registered to vote and things like that. And obviously that helped with what we have right now, as far as the presidency right now, with Biden and Kamala Harris going to be our president-elect and vice president-elect. I think that we need to continue to work together as women, because obviously sometimes the men aren't just going to give us the opportunity, but if we are together, we're stronger. And it's good to see, for example, Ms. Antoinette, Ms. Rhonda, everybody was working together so that we could vote and make things possible. So I really think that this wave of women supporting women because there's an end goal, I think we need to continue to do that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All righty. Did anybody have any other input about any changes that they feel may need to be implemented?
I think definitely one, kind of like what Angel said, was how like women are so quick to like degrade themselves and beat themselves up. One is definitely kind of like a confidence thing. I mean, like people are going to talk about you either way, literally no matter what you do, so you might as well, enjoy your life and stand up for yourself, because I mean, like I said, they're going to talk about you either way. So why not enjoy life while they do?
All righty. So, we just wanted to shed light on anything that any of you may have going on. So, did anyone want to speak on or promote any upcoming projects or programs or anything that you all have coming up within the next few months?
Now,
Well,
you guys couldn't give me a platform like that now. I thank you. I thank you. Oh my goodness. But you know what? I just want to say real quickly, ladies, that I want to thank you on behalf of the Interfaith Center for Racial Justice for just taking out your time and this holiday. I mean, it's the holiday season, and you ladies answered the call to come help celebrate Martin Luther King holiday celebration in a virtual way. This pandemic has had us just kind of wiped clean, but you know what? It's a lot of good things that still can happen and are happening every single day. You guys are just proof of it. It's like, okay, here's an obstacle. We're not gonna call it that. It's a challenge, and we're gonna just push through. But again, I do want to thank you guys for coming on here and giving your time to this most noble cause. Again, I did say it was our 34th annual, didn't you? I had to do a little plug. This MLK holiday celebration, 34th, and it is it's challenging. I'll just say it like that. But you guys are making it a bit better, because I tell you, this was one fabulous session. And being a lifelong resident of Macomb County, so I grew up here, and I guess I grew up and grew old here. Anyway, long story short, I really could relate to a lot of the things that you were saying today, and I think this is gonna be just a wonderful part of our program. And I like what I came out of this with this women supporting women. And here is my shout out. The Interfaith Center for Racial Justice, we have a program, and I see a first 42 are here. I see one. Okay, there you go, Monique. Yes, we have. It's part of the Black Women's Project, and the first 42 is something that we've been working on for the last year. We've had a lot of challenges with that because of the pandemic as well, but we're still working. We're going to be having a exhibit on Black women in Macomb County, and their voice being heard. So you ladies, you might as well just kind of stay tuned, okay? And can be a part of something historic there as well. So we have to make sure that we pull you guys in. This is what this is all about. This is what this is all about, being confident about who we are and moving forward. And again, I thank you. I'm going to keep on moving, but thank you for being a part of all of this.
My pleasure.
Before we go, I just wanted to say keep an eye out for our third annual Black Excellence that we do every February. Not really for sure how many people we're gonna be allowed to have or what the rules are gonna be in February, but please keep a lookout for that. We have some great Black Excellence to celebrate this year, and we may be doing a virtual fair. Usually we have our small businesses get together and we can promote them, but again, not sure if we're going to be able to do that. So if we can do something online just to support our local small businesses, and if anyone on here would like to be a part of it, please feel free to reach out to me so we can get you added.
That's fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous. Hey, if we had 50 things to do during Black History Month, it wouldn't be enough in Macomb County as far as I'm concerned.